Hello and welcome back. It's great that you keep coming back and watching these things, and I've been getting some really cool comments, so I'm just going to keep on doing them. Today we're talking about a doorless live hardware only setup that I'm building for a gig that's happening at the end of March. So I'm going through the process and building a number of different kind of stages, and I started off with the gear selection, so I've got that. And so this is going to talk about how I've got everything routed and where everything is going. Talk about, things like MIDI clock and sequencing and where all that's sort of happening from. Some of what my thinking was behind choosing these pieces of equipment to be able to play live, and what those sort of parameters are for me when I am playing live, in that I can enable enough of a journey to be able to happen and enough of a sonic palette to be able to keep people engaged for 40 minutes. I recently just did a live jam of this as a rehearsal, and that link to that video is here somewhere. I'll put it on the screen and also link it in the description for you to watch. I got to say thank you to a couple of people that I know sat down and watched the whole thing, and you can see that in the YouTube stats, because it most definitely is designed as a journey. This kind of, short attention spans that we all have these days, and, skipping through the tracks or skipping through the timeline to be able to see things. It's difficult, and this is what's nice about being able to play live, is that you have a certain amount of control over a captive audience, and that you're sharing things with them in the way that it's intended. So yeah, a big thank you to those few people that did sit down and watched it from go to woe. And it's that idea of, let's go on a journey together with this. So you're going to see my knees, you're going to see my hands. As I jump to certain bits of kit, I'll refocus the camera to look in at it, because there's some stuff happening in here and there's some stuff happening over here. We'll talk about the Octatrack in a second, and that's going to be the journey. But first, let's just have a quick listen as to what's going on and where it's going. Bear with us. No more than 3 minutes, I promise. So if you can't watch the whole video, then there you go. That's the gist of kind of what's going on, even with a little bit of kind of droning in between and the breakdown sort of thing happening. So let's just talk about how all this is wired and how it's set up to begin with. The Octatrack is the master clock. So let's go with MIDI first. So MIDI out from the Octatrack, it's coming down to MIDI in for the Digitakt II. Now, the reason that the Octatrack is the master clock is because I'm running EasyBot's amazing 3.0 performance mixer template. And if you haven't seen that and how the work he's put into it and how this all works, and you saw me doing a little bit of pieces of that in there, it's absolutely amazing. It's worth the price of admission and being a Patreon, and you know, paying an equivalent of a coffee a month to him for the amount of work that he's put in. And the Octatrack just works perfectly like that. It's super duper cool. So by having the Octatrack as the master clock, all of these time-based effects that EasyBot has painstakingly put together, it means that the clocks are in time all the time and it's not going to glitch out. He's got a few different performance mixer templates, and I've got the hyper template installed on here, which is more kind of glitch time-based effects, looping chunks, almost kind of granular stuff. But I'm just dipping my toe in, so I'm keeping with the performance mixer template for the moment, but I know that he is building kind of like a hybrid of both. That'll have some of the hyper template effects in there, and it'll also have some of these in there. So I'm looking forward to that, how that works. Now, so that's the reason why the Octatrack is the main MIDI clock. MIDI out, coming into the Digitakt II and being clocked. And then I've got MIDI through coming out, and it's going via a TRS into the 1010 Bluebox Eurorack mixer, because this will essentially clock everything else now in the way that I've got this set up, because in their amazing instrument design space, they went, let's not care if it's a MIDI TRS A, B or otherwise, let's just make them all work. And then make it just really simple that if you plug MIDI in, give this a MIDI in signal, it must mean that you want to sync it. So there's no menu diving in here. As soon as you put MIDI in, this thing just picks up the clock and runs with it. So this has got effects in it. So it means that the delays are time synced to the MIDI clock, and lo and behold, it also spits out the clock as an analog clock. And so that is running out and is going into Pam's New Workout over here. It's not the new workout, it is just the Pam's New Workout. Oh, what is it? Pamela's New Workout Pro. It's not that, it's the one before. And when this has clock in, as soon as I hit play, the transport comes through and this thing kicks off as well. So then I can distribute the clock from Pam's to the rest of the modular. So where have I got clock going in? I've got it going into the Onieroi, I've got it going into the Ghost for the delays. I think that's it. I think that's all the only places that it needed for clock. I've got some other things, but we'll jump over and look at the modular separate in a second and move that. So that's how MIDI's working. Really awesome. I just press play. Pretty rock solid. I have had some moments where it's gone off time, but perfectly off time. So it's like come through at half time. And if you watch the video, like the whole journey video, the live rehearsal thing, you'll actually see when it starts, it's playing off time. So the kicks that's happening over here with the Knobula Kickain, and then I've got them matched with kicks here on the Digitakt, they were playing off beat, which was kind of okay because I've got that rumble happening off beat as well. So it's kind of like this half-time syncopated weirdness that was happening, and I was okay with that. But it has been rock solid, that whole kind of clocking thing that's been happening. If I just turn all these down, maybe you'll get rid of that. I don't know, maybe if I press that, there we go. Just get rid of that hum and you can just listen to my voice. So audio. I've got two things happening over here. I've got percussion specifically, and then I've got droney stuff. And this is somewhere where I'm still kind of working through, and there'll be a change because the droney stuff at the moment isn't sidechained, and I need to work through that. And I'll explain a little bit more when I jump over to here. But the percussion stuff is submixed coming up into the cockpit. So I've got three inputs. I've got the Kickain as one input. I have the Pamelas Iteritas Alia, but it's not that. It's their kind of FM percussion voice that's loaded into that at the moment. So I've got the noise engineering module coming in, but that's also coming down and going through into the Ghost for its own effects chain. And then I've also got the Atom coming into here, and I've got the FM preset from the latest Plaits firmware happening in here, and that's the knit, and so that's another bass line, and that's coming up into here as well. And so what's nice in this process is the cockpit has sidechain capability. So when you can see that it's flashing up here, that means that the trigger input is triggering a sidechain, so I can give that room for the kick as it goes. And then that's coming into the Golden Master, because these things are normal in behind here. There's a ribbon cable that joins these two. So the output's normal to the input of the Golden Master. And the Golden Master is really good because I can take the low frequencies in here and make them mono, and then also add compression across each of the three different frequency bands, and then also be able to build this in as some performance options as well, in terms of being able to mute the high, mid or low frequencies on here. So it's really cool. And then this again is connected to the IntelliGel case, and those audio outputs are going out, and I've got them going into input. Oh, sorry, I don't. I've actually got them coming and running through into the Digitakt, because the Digitakt is also percussion. So I've got percussion elements, and so with the EasyBot template, how he's set it up is that input A and B is for percussion, and then input C and D is for your melodic stuff. It's not perfectly split like that, and that's what I was going to say a little bit earlier, is I've still got a little bit of figuring out to do in terms of the routing to be able to kind of make that sort of clear split. Because like I said, like I've got like this thing over here, this can be a bass, or it can be a hi-hat, or it can be a snare, or it can be an extra sort of kick drum happening, or it can just be a drone or a rumble. But this is most definitely sort of coming in through that chain. So I don't know, I just have a little bit of tweaking to do with that signal chain at the moment. But the way that it's working, that hard and clear distinction between the percussion and the melodic elements and the bass and the drone and that sort of stuff doesn't really matter. It's still sounding amazing with these effects and using those as transitions. So not super stressed about that, but I do need to sidechain with the kick some of this droney stuff, just to give the mix a little bit more space. So that's my next thing, just to sort of work out how it goes. There is a really simple solution here where I can route the droney stuff back in through the Kickain, because it has its own sort of sidechain capability, and it works really well because you've got 3 settings in terms of normal, where it's a full volume duck, but Spectral 1 and Spectral 2 just look at the frequencies that are coming out of the kick and just duck the frequencies. So it's less of a drop in volume as more as a hole in the frequency spectrum. But I'm back to an issue where if I have that routed into A and B, then I've got my droney elements coming into what should be my percussion track. And that's why I'm really interested to see the EasyBot's next iteration, where it has the hyper effects and it has the performance mixer effects built into it, because what he's saying is it doesn't matter. You just plug your mix into inputs A and B and it won't matter as it mixes across. So that could be a solution, but at the moment that's kind of all right. So I've got the case, or just the outputs, this little submix here from the cockpit and the Golden Master, coming out and coming into the Digitakt, and then the Digitakt outputs are coming in directly into A and B. And then my C and D inputs is my droney stuff that's all being mixed through the Bluebox. And I've got the outputs there coming in. I do have this ultra compact 2-channel hum destroyer from the brand that remains unnamed, but when I went into the music store, this was the only one that was there, and surprisingly enough, it actually works. And I've only got this on because I'm using a Rodecaster video to record all of this, and I use the Rodecaster video as part of my AV set as well. And the modular makes a really nasty, horrible ground loop as it comes back into that. So I've got that on there anyway, just to clean everything up as it sort of goes through. It seems to be okay. I'm sure there's an audio file out there that'll go, oh no, you shouldn't do that because you're actually losing some of your low frequency spectrum. But anyway, maybe not. Maybe it's doing something else. I don't know, but it totally gets rid of the hum. It is good. So that's the MIDI and the audio going through. The Novation LaunchControl, and I've mentioned this before because I have done a full modular breakdown for another video that I did, and I explained that in there, but just really quickly, the LaunchControl is connected via USB to the Bluebox mixer into the dev input USB port. So it's got a USB-B connector to USB-C connector here, and I've MIDI mapped all of this stuff so I can mix that on the fly. Pans, delay sends, reverb sends, mute and solo buttons. Super easy, super cool. So that's the overview, if that works for everybody. What I might do now is let's jump over to the modular, and I'll just refocus the camera. So excuse me while we pause and I cut this little bit out and have a look at what's going on in the modular. Maybe you're seeing this as I do this. Maybe I don't cut this out and we just play. We just pretend that I cut it out, and then it wasn't just me refocusing the camera. I think that's all right. Let's just pull that up a little bit and get that to there. That's cool, good, less knees, and it looks in focus. That looks pretty good. Okay, groovy. All right, so what's happening here? The kick is the Kickain. I've got it doubled though, because one of the things that I did with the Kickain was I recorded the kick into the Digitakt, and I've got the kick doubled And so I've got kind of 3 layers. The kick by itself is pretty good, but I wanted to make a rumble, and so by recording it into the Digitakt with the rumble, as a sample, I can make the rumble in the Digitakt. So let's just listen to, I think this will work, just the kick. There it goes. I've got some other ground noise stuff happening somewhere. Let's maybe mute some things and see if I can find where that's coming from. But okay, cool. So the kick is doing its thing. I just wonder if I can turn it down a little bit so you can hear me as I go. So the kick's being triggered from Pamelas New Workout. So a channel is going through here. I did do a whole breakdown, but again, maybe if I stop repeating that I did a breakdown and just talk about it, because maybe you're only watching this video. Maybe you can watch the other video too. I've got the kick coming up here to the X input on one of these XY1 units, which is connected in the background to this switch multiple. So I can actually mute this off because X is coming in. So obviously I've got 6 routed through. These other 2, so this is coming through into the kick. So I've still got a signal going in there, but it's muted at the moment at a central switch. So there it is. I can also, I've got a second gate signal or series of triggers coming out of PAMs here into the Y, which is more of my bass line, which could also be a hi-hat, but it's kind of running a lot faster. So let's just do like blast kicks. Oh yeah. So it's cool because I can flick between those states pretty quickly and pretty easily. So there we go. It's nice because I can play with all of these things in real time over the course of the set, adding reverb to it. Changing the drive amount, the decay. So that gives me broken out hands-on control of that kick, whereas in the Digitakt, it's a bit more buried. All the controls for the Digitakt kick are a little bit more buried and take a bit more thought in a live situation to drill down and work with it. So if we listen to the 2 kicks, so I've got 2 kicks going on. That's just the Digitakt. This is with the Kickain. So I can play with all of these things and have that as a layer. And then on the Digitakt as well, I've got my rumble. Cool, super easy. So that's the kick. Let's just jump straight over to this. I had the Incus Iteritas before this, and I've had a BIA, but I've only just recently gotten an Alia, and I've loaded it up, and I'll put the link, I'll put the firmware name that I've got it loaded on, but it just sounds absolutely amazing. And so let's do a kick and then bring this in as well. So I've got this triggered over here. So this is coming again from the ability to be able to kick it off in time with the kick, or bring it in as like a hi-hat bass. So let's have a listen to that. So you can just kind of hear it doing its thing. It's going into the Ghost, so it's got a delay on it. Let's just mute the kicks for a second. So I've got a bit of modulation from this little pressure pad, because we can kind of get the hi-hat, snares, and because I've got the Ghost, I've got the DJ low pass, high pass, so I can just get those little hi-hats happening. Or full spectrum. Crunchy crunch. It's like the bass, alto, treble. And then the different models. And the other thing that is really kind of cool is when we go in time with the kick and increase the decay. And if I bring the kicks back in, it's just very cool. And this is weird because I've actually got this coming over and it's going through the Viol Ruina, so I've actually got some mangle going on this. This is doing some extra sort of distortion stuff as well, so and gives me the opportunity to double filter and yeah, so this is actually really nice with this, like, because just listen to the kicks coming through with that, because this is side chained in the Ghost. And then, you know, kind of it's just another little subtle layer of fun. Cool. Then I can't remember, is that? Yep. So then the third channel on the cockpit is the Atom. I've talked about this before. This is the Mutable Instruments Elements clone. Very, very cool. Same thing, I can sort of trigger that on the rhythm of the hi-hats or as a bass line or as another layer with the kicks. Just with some modulation going into the geometry and to one of the timbre inputs. So it's enough just to kind of keep it changing. And if I like bring the dampening down and we go, so it becomes another little percussive element. Because I said before, it's like, what's that live methodology? What am I thinking about in terms of putting a live set together? And it's about how to have maximum flexibility of sonic space through the journey. If, you know, you're not able to sort of change presets or, you know, change a whole set, or if you're using Ableton Live with a whole bunch of loops, you know, radically kind of shift as you're going. How do you work with the same palette but allow that to be able to morph over time? The last thing I'm going to show you down here, because this is getting to be a long video, is the knit and what I've got going on that as a baseline. So I need to bring up last video I did, I went, oh, you know, like what is this preset? Because I keep just setting knit to, there's 3 banks, it's the third bank and the third one down, and I actually looked it up and it's the DX7 FM synth. And as you change the harmonic control, it shifts and changes through a whole range of different DX7 presets. So it's an FM synth. And so what I've got going on is I've got this random clock or random signal that's clocked in time coming out of Pamelas, going up here into the duet attenuator and then coming down into the harmonic. Because as I'm playing, I can increase this and it will start to randomly pick through the DX7 presets. So it's just working off this kind of basic bass at the moment with a little bit of modulation on the timbre and the morph, but so you can just hear that modulating and changing. All the modulation's coming out of the oct, but let's add a little bit of random. So cool. So just a small amount of random to a lot of randomness as it sort of goes through, and there's not one dud presets in there. It just sounds amazing. I've got it set to a very short envelope. You can press and hold this here and then change this knob here and it'll change the envelope amount, and it's a very short envelope. So this is just kind of working full time as my bass, but there's enough variation when I add the randomness to keep that kind of going. And because I'm layering other elements, because the last bit that I'm layering is the scanned, which is coming up through a low pass gate, and that works as a, let's just find that really quickly. Oh, trigger it, trigger it. That's 3. So I've got this set up so it's the same thing, it's working as that gate. I'll just drop that off really quickly. So you can see it coming in as a gate. And because it's constantly morphing and changing, I've got the shape changing, but like I can just play with the stiffness, the mass, the damping, and the center. And I've got that coming over into the Endorphin's Squark Dirty. So I can filter that as it goes. And then the little fun bit on the fly is half pulling the CV input out, so then this can just drone then. And that's got some delay and reverb on it from the Bluebox as well as sends. I'm going to do a completely separate video about the Vhiik and the Onieroi. You just have to wait for that because these two are working together and it's beautiful. What an amazing pair, especially using the looper in the Onieroi, grabbing the Vhiik, using the looper speed to be able to kind of pitch it up and down and make these kind of higher octaves. And then parallel processing from a raw Vhiik feed into here to parallel processing it through the filter, the resonator, the echo and the ambience modules on here. So I've got that set up that the Vhiik's going in here, but that's going to be a whole other video to be able to do. And then I think it's going to be a whole other video with a Digitakt and show you what I've got going on there, because I've got everything from my hi-hats and the snares, and I can sort of take you through that process of building those, and also some audio samples. But we're just about to hit 40 minutes, like, oh my God, I can talk. Thanks very much if you've been hanging out and watching this as I go. My next step is I've already got like half a set built. My next step is to build a second part of the set. And that's going to be like fully changing the preset that is in Pamelas New Workout, fully changing the preset that's in the Digitakt, and then again, just being able to kind of sculpt and morph the different modules as we go. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Thanks very much for doing that and taking that time. Time's precious these days, and you doing that stuff, you know, it just helps out. So yeah, next video, let's talk about the Vhiik and the Onieroi, and then part 3, we'll just do a Digitakt deep dive. Thanks very much for watching.